original idea is like I just want to get together with a whole bunch of friends and hang out and talk about the things that we're interested in talking about, but then realized quickly that it's always better to have a project to work on around it, so workshop. And so we kind of went around with it in the lab initially, but the idea was to create Sky Mall was like the motivation, and it was the brief was almost like a Sky Mall catalog for the future. That was the initial conceit behind it, and so with that you almost get that it's built into it because Sky Mall is like an entertaining thing and also wacky and weird. And it's like who wants like a garden Sasquatch, and why would someone get the 3-foot versus the 6-foot one, and those kinds of things, and all the little minutiae around it is. I thought would be like a good context around which we might think of what would be the things that would exist in a future world, given, and there were a set of, it was actually a very exacting brief. There were a set of principles that at the time, 2003, 2004, were like little nuggets on the Gardner hype curve that you could say like, okay, so extrapolate this into some undetermined date, but in the future. And deliberately, just wanted to get rid of the date thing because just didn't want to have the conversations with someone saying like, actually, that wouldn't be possible because I don't care, those kinds of things. Just wanted to find, and so that was how it started, and by just amazing kind of personal generosity by a lot of people. People just showed up in Detroit when I said like, this is where we're going to do it, and this is how it's going to happen. Here's some places to stay. No one was paid. It's basically just like it was near future laboratory kind of hobby project, and we just had a great time, like all hanging out with a bit of a structure around the workshop to construct initially, just have conversations about both what kinds of what would be the bones of the technologies that we would want to look into. So a lot of it was like algorithmic driven kinds of things, AI based things. A lot of the evolution of forms of payment was a thing. The evolution in sites of like manufacture was also a thing. At the time, I think I'd read like an Economist article about Africa's now coming online, and that the Chinese are investing a lot of money in Africa in a variety of different economic and kind of infrastructural relationships. So that all those little kind of elements at the time became the basis upon which we would have conversations about. And then we went to just the objects and services that you could almost have free reign. So nothing had to be particularly pragmatic. It all had to be a bit kind of like lowbrow. So nothing like highly sophisticated, almost the extrapolation of things now that we would like treasure and be like precious about, brought into a future in which they're now, you see it in the seat back of an airplane as a kind of thing that like someone decided we're going to mass manufacture these. Like you can get lasers now just at a gas station. You can get, which at the when I was a kid, it's like, are you kidding me? That's the kind of thing that Princeton University has in the plasma physics lab. People don't have lasers. Or sorry, and so it reminded me we did a newspaper before that. It was almost like our pre-brief. Called Corner Convenience, and this was almost like the prehistory of the catalog. So we said, let's take things that we take for granted now, and specifically things that like a corner bodega, kiosk, liquor store, small grocer, so like 7-Eleven and all that kind of stuff, and really look at them and say, there was a time when people would not have taken this for granted. So so things like medication, so like aspirin and like a lighter. Like when the Donner Party was going across, like they would have been like, a lighter? Are you kidding me? That'd be awesome. Maps, the things that we, things. So it was almost like that was the start of it. Light, power in these little tubes. We did we looked at moments in film in which the corner convenience store played like a role, and that was like almost the basis to say like, let's focus on the corner convenience store. That level of kind of materiality, and take the things now that we don't take for granted, that are super sophisticated and precious and maybe only available to a select group of people, and now move them into the future to the point where they are commodity and kind of crappy, and they also come, in Pokemon colors or whatever, where it's just gone a little bit bonkers. And so, with that, we in the workshop we did a small number of things. So the goal of the workshop, at the end of the workshop, was to come out with basically a small spread that might be the form of the catalog. It might give a template, both visually but then also conceptually, for the kinds of things that would live in the catalog. And it was, I don't know, maybe it was like 18 or 24 things. And it was just a way to kind of like kickstart the notion of what I think we imagined would be a much bigger project afterwards. And then after all that, kind of took all those ideas and thinking and material, and basically just sat to task. So commissioned a lovely graphic designer to kind of work side by side with us, and had a Google Docs or whatever it was of all the kind of products we want in there, and then just began filling it out. So it just became this kind of like grind of like wonderful, excruciating, grinding creative work of just trying to come up with what is a thing, what would it look like, how subscribing to clip art stock photo services to kind of find the imagery that we wanted, and then just writing the things up. And I think to your point about the wacky, I forgot about the useful conversions in the front. A lot of it was driven by, which I think is like a